Students, welcome to the virtual class of Indian Constitution. So we are discussing about the president and his powers and functions. So in the last class we discussed till judicial powers of the president. Today let us continue with military powers of the president of India. So there are many military powers are with the president which he has to exercise in conformity with the laws of the land. So, the military powers of the president are the first one, the president is the commander in chief of the armed forces. So, all the three army forces are working under the president, army, navy, and air force. The president appoints the commander of the Indian Army, Admiral of the Indian Navy, and Air Chief Marshal. The President, Chief of the three army wings, the present Chief of the three army wings is General Bipin Rawat. So earlier he was the Chief of the Indian Army. So now the President appointed him as the Chief of all the three armed forces. The present Chief of the Army is Lieutenant General M.M. Naravane. Then present Chief of the Naval Staff is Admiral Karambir Singh. The Chief of the Air Staff is Air Chief Marshal Bipender Singh Dhanova. So these are the three personalities who are leading the Indian military. The president has powers to declare war and call for peace, but he can declare war only when the parliament is not in session. If the parliament is in session, it is the duty of the president to get the advices and the recommendations of the Indian Parliament. So, if the Parliament is not in session directly, the President can declare war and call any country for peace discussion. Next, emergency powers of the President. Article 352 empowers the President to proclaim emergency. The President of India can proclaim emergency if he is satisfied that it is justified and can take under his direct charge the administration of any state in India. So he has to get the recommendations of the Union Cabinet in writing before proclaiming emergency. So the recommendations of the Union government is essential for the President to declare emergency. There are three kinds of emergencies. They are national emergency, Article 352, constitutional emergency or state emergency or president rule, Article 356. Third, financial emergency or economic emergency, Article 360. National emergency. Article 352 of the Constitution deals with emergency arising out of war, external aggression, or internal armed rebellion. So, this emergency is popularly called as national emergency. The President can proclaim national emergency if he is satisfied that the security of India or any of its part has been violated or threatened by war, external aggression, or internal armed rebellion. So, on these three grounds, the President can declare national emergency. The word armed rebellion was incorporated by a 44th Amendment Act 1978, and it is replaced the original term internal disturbances. So earlier there was a provision through which the president can declare emergency. So that was internal disturbance. But by this amendment, it is replaced by armed rebellion. Now, on the grounds of armed rebellion, national emergency can be declared by the president. The words, if the president is satisfied, means when the president receives such information and advice from the Council of Ministers, has to give its advice in writing. After receiving such communication, the President can proclaim national emergency under Article 352. So far, national emergencies have been proclaimed three times in India. They are: first national emergency was declared on 26th October 1962. So, in the wake of Chinese aggression against India in 1962, China declared war against India. So, then the president proclaimed national emergency. Second national emergency was declared on 3rd December 1971 due to the Indo-Pakistan War. In 1971, there was a war in between India and Pakistan. So, on that grounds, on 3rd December 1971, the president declared national emergency. Third national emergency was declared on 26th June 1975 on the grounds of internal disturbance. However, by 44th Amendment Act in 1978, emergency cannot be proclaimed now on the grounds of internal disturbance, and therefore the words internal disturbance have been replaced by armed rebellion. Second, constitutional emergency or state emergency or president rule. Article 356 of the Constitution gives powers to the president to declare constitutional emergency in a state or states for dealing with the failure of the constitutional machinery in any state or states. So, if the president, either on the basis of the report of the governor of a state or otherwise is satisfied that the government of the state is not being carried on in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution, or if he is satisfied that a state government is not carrying out the directions of the union government in respect of the administration of the union laws and policies in the state, the president can declare constitutional emergency. So these are the grounds to declare constitutional emergency. So this is also called by another name president rule. The state emergency is commonly known as president's rule. So every state in India except two states, Chhattisgarh and Telangana, has been under a state of emergency at some point of time or the other. Since independence to 20th June 2018, 115 times president rule imposed in our country. Latest president's rule imposed in Jammu and Kashmir on June 20th, 2018. Extended president rule in Jammu and Kashmir for further 6 months with effect from the month of July 3rd, 2019. So 115 times president rule imposed on the states of India. Then financial emergency, so which is also called by the name economic emergency. The president under Article 360 can proclaim a financial emergency in India if he is satisfied that a situation has arisen whereby the financial stability or credit of India or any part of the territory thereof stands threatened. So, on these grounds, financial emergency can be declared by the president. But since independence to till today, no financial emergency has been proclaimed in India since independence. Then, diplomatic powers of the president. The president represents the country in international forums. He sends ambassadors to foreign countries and receive their diplomatic representatives. All international treaties and agreements are concluded on behalf of the president. However, these treaties and agreements are subject to ratification by the parliament. What treaties and agreements are signed by the president should get approval of the parliament. So next go to the another important aspect of the union government. So next to the president there is the vice president of India. So let us see how the vice president of India is elected and what powers and functions are given to him. Article 63 of the Indian Constitution has provided for the post of vice president. So we can see the present vice president of India, M. Venkaiah Naidu of Andhra Pradesh. Qualifications to become the vice president. The qualifications required to contest for the vice presidential election are the same as those of an aspirants of the presidential election must fulfill. So they are: he must be a citizen of India, he must have attained the age of 35 years, he must be eligible for election as a member of the Rajya Sabha, which is called in another name Council of States. He should not be a member of either House of Parliament or any state legislature. He should not hold any office of profit in the government. He should not be a person of unsound mind or insolvent. So these are the common qualifications for the aspirants to contest the vice presidential election. Then, method of election, how to elect the president of India. Article 63 of the Constitution deals with the method of election of the vice president. The vice president is elected by members of an electoral college like the president, consisting of the members of both the houses of parliament, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. A secret ballot is cast in accordance with the system of proportional representation by means of a single transferable vote. So, this proportional representation we have already discussed while discussing the election of the president. Proportional representation means if there are more than two candidates, then the voters have to mention the serial numbers before the names of the candidates. So each voter has to suggest their preferential votes according to the number of contestants. Single transferable vote means so they need not go to the polling station, they can send their votes or ballot papers to the nearest polling station. So single transferable vote. However, the vice president election is slightly different from that of the election of the president, as the state legislatures have no part in it. In the presidential election, all the state assembly, I mean, all the MLAs, elected MLAs of all the state legislative assemblies are the voters. But here in vice presidential election, they have no any voting power in the vice president election. Only Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha members are the voters. So even the elected and nominated members of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha can cast their votes to vice presidential candidates. But in a presidential election, only elected MPs and the MLAs have to cast their votes. But here, all elected and nominated members are the voters in the vice president election. The nomination of a candidate for election to the office of the vice president must be subscribed by at least 20 electors as proposers and 20 electors as seconders. 20 electors means voters have to suggest their names as vice presidential candidate, and 20 electors should propose their names as the seconders. So every candidate has to make a security deposit of rupees 15,000 in the Reserve Bank of India. The Election Commission of India, which is a constitutional autonomous body, conducts the vice president election. The election is proportional representation by means of a single transferable vote by secret ballot. Secret ballot also we have already discussed. Secret ballot means the voter while voting should maintain secrecy. Secretly they have to cast their votes to the candidates as per their preferential votes. After the elections, if no candidate obtains the required number of first preference votes, the candidate with the least number of first preference votes is eliminated and his or her second preference votes are transferred to the other candidates. The process is repeated until a candidate obtains the requisite number of votes. Nominated members can also participate in vice president election. Then, oath of affirmation. The Article 69 of the Indian Constitution provides the oath of affirmation for the office of vice president. The president administers the oath of office and secrecy to the vice president. The newly elected vice president should take oath of office in front of the president of India. So even the president himself should administer the oath of office. M. Venkaya Naidu is the current vice president of India. So he defeated UPA candidate Gopalakrishna Gandhi, grandson of Mahatma Gandhi. He defeated him on 5th August 2017. A term of office. As per Article 67, the Vice President is elected for a term of 5 years and is eligible for immediate re election. However, his office may be terminated earlier than the fixed term of 5 years, either by resignation to be in writing addressed to the President or removal by a resolution of the Council of States, Rajya Sabha, passed by majority of its members and agreed by the Lok Sabha, Article 67. Filling of vacancy. The Constitution provides that in order to fill a vacancy in the office of the Vice President caused by death, resignation, removal, or otherwise, an election shall be held as soon as possible, but within 6 months of the occurring of the vacancy. The person so elected shall hold office for a full term of 5 years, beginning from the date he assumes the office. All the disputes concerning the election of the vice president can be required into only by the Supreme Court of India and its decision is final. So during election anything goes wrong, the decisions of the Supreme Court is the final one. Then removal of the vice president. The Constitution states that the vice president can be removed by a resolution of the Rajya Sabha passed by an effective majority and agreed to by a simple majority, simple 50% of present and voting members of the Lok Sabha, Article 67, Section B. But no such resolution may be moved unless at least 14 days advance notice has been given. Notably, the Constitution does not list grounds for removal. No vice president has ever faced removal proceedings. Salary and allowances. There is no provision in our constitution for the salary of the vice president of India in that capacity. But he receives salary in the capacity as the ex officio chairman of the Rajya Sabha, Council of States. As per the revised scale of February 2018, current salary of the vice president is 4 lakhs per month. In addition, he or she is entitled to a daily allowance, free furnished residence, medical, travel, and other facilities. The Constitution provides that when The vice president acts as the president or discharges the duties of the president. He or she is entitled to a salary and the privileges of the president. So, if the president is acting as vice president is acting as the president of India, then he is eligible for the same salary and allowances which are paid to the president. The pension for the vice president is 50% of the current salary, in which month he completes his 5 years term. So 50% of the salary of that month is the pension. So these are the uh, images of the vice presidents of India. The first vice president of independent India, Dr. Radhakrishnan, who elected unanimously as the vice president of India. So he is the only uh, unanimous vice president. So